We've got Ridgid's brand new mid-torque impact wrench. Stick around. We have Ridgid's brand new mid-torque impact wrench. This is a 4-mode impact wrench. So typical is the hog ring style anvil or the friction ring anvil that just kind of retains the socket on with that little friction ring, and the pin detent is going to have that little detent ball that holds the socket on. Anyway, let's dig in and take a closer look at these. And by the way, you can also get it with a nice protective boot on it as well. Anyway, we'll take a closer look. We'll look at the features. We'll use it on our test rig. Then we'll use it on something else. Talk about what we think about it, or we'll actually come back, talk about what we think about it, and pricing and warranty. Let's get started. Okay, so we have our R86012 kitted with our 4 amp hour battery, which is as it comes in the kit, or as I mentioned, you could also get this as a bare tool. This is a 1/2 inch anvil. This is the hog ring style anvil. You can also get it in a pin detent. We'll show you that here in a moment as well. Typical variable speed trigger on this, and that's going to give us up to 2,800 RPM and up to 3,800 impacts per minute, depending on which speed we're in, but that's basically your max is 2,800 RPM and 3,800 IPM or impacts per minute. Obviously, we're running a brushless motor powered off of the 18-volt Ridgid batteries, and this is their new max output 4 amp hour battery. We'll be doing some testing on a couple of different batteries, so we'll go over that here in a moment. Standard LED down here on the bottom to broadcast the light up to where your fastener may be. And this is their mid-torque model. So this is not their high torque. They have a high torque. This is not the high torque. This is the mid-torque. We have 4 modes. So we have 1, 2, 3, which is going to progressively get stronger, obviously, 1, 2, and 3. And then we have auto mode. The auto tighten mode is basically you can pull the trigger, it's going to tighten until it senses that it's tight, and then it's going to back off. The same way with loosening. As you're loosening with that, as soon as it senses that it's broken free, it's going to slow that down. We'll go over that here in a moment as well when we're using this. Now, max output on this is supposed to be 650 pounds or 650 foot-pounds of breakaway torque or nut busting torque, whatever you want to call that, and then 500 foot-pounds of fastening torque. Now, as far as size of this, we'll take a quick gander here. You're about just short of 10.5 inches with the 4 amp hour battery on there. So just short of 10.5 inches from front to back. You're right at 7 inches from the front of the anvil to the back of the impact wrench. And then as far as across the back, 2 3/4, 3 inches almost. So depending on where you measure that, between 2 3/4 and 3 inches. Now, as far as a weight on this, we'll quickly get a weight, and we'll do it with battery and sans battery. Let's see here. So we're at 0 with the 4 amp hour battery, 5 pounds, 3.5 ounces. And without the battery, 3 pounds, 11 ounces. So 3 3/4 pounds without a battery, and then again just over 5 with the 4 amp hour battery. And then just wanted to show you here, as I mentioned, that this is the hog ring style anvil here. This is the pin detent, so you get a little detent there that has a spring behind it, which kind of locks onto the socket, where you've got a hole in the socket, and then you have to push that to actually get the socket off. So the friction ring or hog ring is just going to basically always apply some sort of friction on the socket to retain it, as well as when you're putting it on and off. So just kind of your weapon of choice, if you will. And you can also get a rubber protective sock that will actually cover the head of this. So as you see it, we've got it on the pin detent. We do not have it on this one. I'm not sure what the pricing is on that yet. We'll try to find it. I couldn't seem to find it by itself, but I did see where you could get it kitted with one of these as a bare tool with the head cover on it. Is it me, or have we seen a tool like this before? I don't know. It seems very familiar looking. Can't really put my finger on it, but it just seems that maybe we've seen this before, but I just can't quite nail it down on where we've seen it before, but maybe you can figure it out and let me know. Okay, let's go put this on our test rig and see how the R86012 will do. We'll run it with the 4 amp hour battery, and we're also going to test it with the 6 amp hour octane battery that's a little older but still puts out the power. So let's go find out. Okay, here's the plan. We're going to torque these with our torque gun to 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 550, and really that's kind of pushing the boundaries of what these are torqueable to. So we're going to stop at 550 there, jump to these big ones and go to 600 and then 650, which is supposed to be the max. And if we break that free, then we'll move over and just concentrate on these larger fasteners. Okay, small change of plans, just because our torque gun wouldn't go down to 100, it only goes to 150 on this one. So we're starting at 150, then 200, 300, 400, 500, and 550. Let's start there. I'm going to go into mode 3, so to make sure we just got full power mode, and here we go. Go into reverse. So there's 500, 150, 200, 300, 400, 500. Here's 550. 550 is not an issue. Let's move over here to these larger fasteners. So it looks like our max is 550. Now, just for giggles, I'm going to go ahead and try to torque this smaller bolt to 600 foot-pounds. We did this one to 550. I'm going to see if this one will take 600. It very well could strip, but we're going to go ahead and try that and just see if the size of the fastener is throwing us off. Okay, it took 600 foot-pounds. Now let's see without that adapter. I have a feeling we might break this one free. So 600 foot-pounds. Yep, so that adapter is definitely affecting the amount of torque on that larger fastener. So we're breaking free 600 on the smaller fastener, but we can't break free 600 on the larger fastener, and that's in key due to the adapter that we have here. Well, if things look a little different now, it's because things are a little different now. As we ended, we had kind of maxed out these smaller, I believe those are 7/8 threads, fine thread, grade 8 fasteners. We'd maxed that out at 600 foot-pounds, and jumping up to these 1.5 inch is just too big of a socket. In fact, they don't make it 1.5 inch, blah, blah, blah. So we resorted back to having to drill 3 holes out for these other 1.25 inch fasteners. Anyway, bottom line is we added these 3 fasteners here. We replaced a couple of the smaller ones so that we could torque these higher. These will go up to, I think, 1,500 foot-pounds. So it shouldn't be an issue. We ended on 600 here. We're going to start on 600 here because it's going to take more energy to get more mass moving of a larger socket, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to start on 600, even though we've already accomplished 600 on the smaller fastener. Let's start at 600 here, and we'll go 600, 650, and 700. Okay, we've got a full battery, and we're in reverse. We're going to go 600, 650, and 700. And by the way, we'll give it 10 seconds of hitting before we move on. So after about 8 seconds, it started moving, and we went ahead and let it finish. I don't think we're going to get the 650, but we will see. Okay, by our mark, like at the 9.5 second mark, literally that socket barely started moving. And we've always said if it starts moving at the 10-second mark, we're going to give it that. So that's why we went ahead and kept our finger on the trigger. But right at the 9-second mark is when we saw that starting to move. So let's go to 700. So nothing moving after 10 seconds there. So I would say they're right on the money at 650 foot-pounds. We're going to try one more thing. We're going to go to a 6 amp hour battery. This is the 6 amp hour octane battery. No go on that one either. So nothing moving after 10 seconds with the 6 amp hour either. So we're going to call it at 650 foot-pounds. This is a 1-ton truck that's been sitting a couple of years now, and that wheel has not been off, so ran those off no problem. I still wouldn't recommend it for a 1-ton truck, but for your lighter duty trucks, this is probably going to be more than enough to remove most lug nuts. You will get those stubborn ones from time to time that will not give up the ghost. Here's also what the auto mode does. So I'm going to shift into auto mode, hold my finger on the trigger. My finger's still on the trigger. So once it senses that it's snug, it stops. So see, my finger's still on the trigger. I'll show you right here. Finger on. Still on. So that's what the auto mode's going to do. It's going to run it on. As soon as it senses that it's snug, it's going to stop. Same way with backing it off. This is still a tightened lug nut. And I'm going to pull the trigger. And you see it slows down and actually stops. Kind of keeps you from slinging lug nuts across the shop. But that's what the auto mode does. It senses when it's tight or when it's loose, and then actually stops the tool. As we mentioned in the video, this thing looks really, really familiar, but just can't quite put our finger on it. Anyway, great impact wrench, especially for the price. You're looking at $199 for the bare tool. Even better than that, you can get this for $269 for the kit, which comes with a 4 amp hour battery and the charger and the case. So that's $269, a lot cheaper than most of your other mid-torques with this much power. The 650 foot-pounds of nut-busting torque or breakaway torque, we hit that dead on the nose. We couldn't do more. We barely squeaked out the 650. After doing the 600, we really didn't think we'd get the 650, but we did. We did that a couple of times. So it honestly was taking off the 650, but it was struggling to do it right at the 10-second mark. But hey, it did exactly what they say it'll do. We didn't test the fastening side. Typically with a mechanic's impact wrench or in a mechanic's field, you really don't care about fastening torque, at least up to 500 foot-pounds. Rarely are you ever doing that on the fastening side, especially in a mid-torque model. Now in the construction industry, yeah, you're driving along lag bolts, things like that. It's got plenty enough to do all those things. And if you're going to be removing lug nuts, things like that, if you're doing half-ton trucks and smaller, yes, this is a great tool for that. Are you still going to have those from time to time that you have to break free with a high torque impact or with a, an extension or a pry bar? Yeah, absolutely. You're going to get those stuck ones that just won't come off with a mid-torque, and you'll have to go to that high torque. That's just going to happen. No promises there. But this has definitely got the guts to do it. You saw us remove this lug nuts on a 1-ton truck as well. If you're working a lot on the heavier trucks, say 1 ton and above, I would not recommend a mid-torque. Will it do most of the lug nuts if they're tightened properly? Yes, but again, you're going to be really frustrated when a third of them don't come off and you're going to that high torque. So I definitely recommend a high torque when you're working on 1-ton equipment and above that. Hey, check it out for yourselves. Again, $199, you get a lifetime service agreement. Well, let me back up. You get a 90-day warranty with this, but if you register the tool within 90 days of purchasing, all you got to do is have the receipt and you can fill that information out. You get a lifetime service agreement or LSA where the tool and the battery are covered for a lifetime, or for the lifetime of the tool, or at least as long as you have it. Also keep track of us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you don't mind, would you hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done so already? And by all means, if you hated our video, well, give us a thumbs down. But would you let us know in the comments why? Have a great day and keep smiling.